Okay, so starting today, we're going to be doing geometry, and we're actually just going to be working on area. Today's learning targets, finding the area of a parallelogram and a triangle. Now, my best way of explaining area is the white tile floor. If you look at this floor, it covers from wall to wall. It covers like an area. It covers a chunk of space. It's like the best way I can explain it. Area is square units. Those squares might be an inch by inch, meaning literally 1 inch on one side, 1 inch on the other side, about that much space. Okay? Little inch squares. The floor is 12 by 12 squares. It's foot squares. It's a foot of space in a square chunk. That is what area is, okay? You could have yard squared. If it's a yard squared, it's about that big, meaning the lengths of my arms, okay? A big square. Centimeters, like if you see that one, that means little centimeter squares. Honestly, probably about as big as that little square. Little bitty squares, okay? When you buy stuff like paint for walls, it is measured in area. A lot of us will just go buy a gallon of paint because we know we need that much. But if you really are wanting to not waste money, you would go in and measure your walls, like the height, the length, and multiply. And then that'll tell you how much square feet it will cover. I'm trying to think. Flooring. Any flooring is sold by square feet. If you buy like grass, meaning yard grass, and you buy like the squares that sod, or the big rolls that are sod, that they roll them out, it'll be sold that way also. Okay, it's kind of weird, but that is where some of this that we're doing is actually super important just for home ownership. I've gone and bought flooring before, and I had to know how much square feet did I need. What if I went back 2 weeks later because I ran out and they didn't sell it anymore? And I've done like half my floor. That wouldn't be good. So, here we go. We're going to start out with area of a parallelogram. Now, the first formula that you need to memorize is going to be right here. It is area of a parallelogram. It is area equals base times height. Base times height. Now, to kind of show you kind of how they match up. Your base is, to me, a flat surface, usually on the bottom, usually. But think of it as one wall. It is a base. So our base on these three parallelograms, just to kind of show them to you, is this 9, is this 10, and where do you think it is on this one? 8.5. Here's why. Because on a parallelogram, the sides opposite are parallel. So normally this is our base, but we know that that side is the same length as that side, right? So even though that's the bottom, they're the same length. On this one, these sides are parallel. On this parallelogram, those sides are parallel. Okay? The other thing we need to know for a parallelogram is not just two sides are parallel, but the other two sides are parallel. So this side is parallel with that one. This side is parallel with that one. This side is parallel with that one. So just kind of throwing that out there because you've got to know what shape it is. If we give you a shape, you've got to know, is it a parallelogram or a triangle or whatever. Okay, so I'm just kind of throwing that out there. So we started out with base. Now we need a height. Now there's a couple hints on heights, if you will listen. Okay. A height is always built off your base. So listen to that again. It is always going to be built off the base. Now here's the thing. A height has got to go straight up and down at a 90-degree corner. I want you to think about it. 90 degrees. Perfect little L has got to be in that corner. So your height is, like, let's start with this one. This is your height. This 3 is your height because it spits off of that base shooting straight up. It is also the height between the two parallel sides. Okay, look at this one. I know this one does not have a little right angle, but look, this is your height because it is the length or the measurement between the base and its parallel side. It should have a little box right there, but it doesn't. We just forgot it, I guess. Okay. Now think about it. On this one, our height should be the measurement between those two walls. Where's the number that is the exact measurement between those two walls? 1 1/4, right. This is our height because it tells us our measurement between those two walls, between our base. Does that help a little bit? Good so far? Okay. Now, to learn how to do area or complete a math problem of area, I'm going to start with this one, okay, up here on this side. We'll go back to that in a second. Let's start with this one. We first would write the formula. So we decide, okay, this is the shape of a parallelogram. You got to memorize. The area for a parallelogram is area equals base times height. I'm sorry, the formula. The formula for a parallelogram is area equals base times height. So the first thing you do is you write the formula. Write the formula. Then you fill in what you think the base is and the height is. So I'm going to put area equals, my base was 10, and my height is 3. Does everybody agree with me? Okay. And then we multiply. We know that even though it's two letters, if they're bumped up against each other, it means multiply. So base times height, 10 times 3 is 30. Now, you always need a measurement. Our measurement for this one is centimeters, cm for centimeters. Okay. And then the last thing is area is always squared, meaning it has a little 2 up in the corner. Squared because it is literal, just like this piece of paper right here. If you look at this picture, it's going to be how many squares cover the shape. Just like on my floor, how many square tiles are on the floor. Okay, so this is your final answer. The area of that parallelogram is 30 centimeters squared. Okay. And over here, there was one little sentence we didn't fill in, but right here it says you must use squared units for area. That just means the little 2. That's all that means. All the area. That's all that means. Okay, so let's do another one now. Let's do this one next. Everybody ready? The area of this parallelogram. Okay, first, write the formula. Area equals base times height. Base is what? 9. Work with me here, people. What's the height? 14. We got to do 9 times 14. I think it's 126. Okay, now, area equals 126. Look back at your measurements. This is in inches. And we know area is always squared. You've got to get these down. Okay, let's do letter B now. Letter B is a little odd, but let's talk about it. Guys, we multiplied fractions. It was the first couple weeks of school. You got a couple different ways we can go about this, okay? I'm going to show you both ways. First, you have to write your formula, and then we're going to fill it in. It is 8.5 times 1 1/4. Okay. Now, if you have a fancy calculator, here we go. It is, y'all can see what's been done to this one, and it is one of my calculators. If you're wondering why we don't have calculators anymore, someone has thrown one away in my recycle bin, so y'all need to make sure you have your own calculators. If it is a fraction, you use the ABC button right there. So I'm going to do 8.5. I'm going to do 8 ABC1 ABC2 times 1 ABC1 ABC4 equals. And I got 10 and 5/8. So area equals 10 and 5/8. Now, it is meters on this one, and area is always squared. Now, if you do not have a handy fancy calculator, listen, let's go back and think of the steps of multiplying fractions. Okay, I'm going to do it right here. 8.5 times 1 1/4. I need your brain to think about this, especially if you don't have a fancy calculator. If you have a cheapy calculator, a dollar store brand, listen, it can still help you with this. Watch. If you go around the backward C, 2 times 8 is 16 plus 1, 17 over 2, times 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5/4. Now, this is where you could use your cheapy calculator and just do 17 times 5. I get 85. I better know 2 times 4 is 8. And then I could do 85 divided by 8 and get 10.625. Listen, they're the same answer. One is just in a fraction. One is in a decimal. I would have to count both of them correct. Okay? Then you just look at it and you say, well, that would be the area equals. And I would go back and put meters squared. It is the same thing. One I did with a fancy calculator, one I did not. It is the same thing. Does that make sense? Good so far? Okay. So that is parallelograms. We gave you some different ones. We gave you what I call tall, short and fat, long and skinny. We gave you whole numbers and fractions. Everybody get on that? Okay. Listen, these extra numbers, I want you to look at something real quick, are trickers, as I'll call them. They're there to trick you. They are the length of a side that you don't need. You would need it for perimeter, because perimeter, we add up all the edges, okay? But, like, you don't need that number right there, because it's the length of that side. You don't need that number right there, because it's the length of that side. You don't need this number right here, because it's the length of that side. We needed a base, and we needed a height. There will be tricker numbers out there. I don't know what else to call them, but that's kind of what they are. Okay, so let's look at triangles now. These are your notes for area of a triangle. So when you see triangles, look back at these notes, okay? Now, the formula. There are two different formulas, but they're the same thing. The first one is the one I use. I use area equals base times height divided by 2. That's the formula I use, because to me it's the easiest, okay? Some kids memorize it as area equals 1/2 base times height. It's the same thing. If you multiply times 1/2, you're officially dividing by 2. I'm going to be honest, you're going to see me writing that one on my paper. I just like that one. To me, it's easier, y'all know, to multiply base times height. And then all you got to do extra is divide by 2. Now, let me show you why we're dividing by 2. Are you ready? Okay. I want you to think about this real quick. If I draw this triangle right here, okay, I want you to think about it. We're going to find a base and we're going to find a height. The reason it's divided by 2 is when we do a square or a rectangle, it's always base times height. But when you do base times height, you're finding this big shape. Well, to make it half of the shape, or a triangle, we need to divide by 2. That's why we're always dividing by 2. Look, even if it's this weird thing, this weird triangle that does not look like what I call a kindergarten-style triangle. Think about it. If there were lines like this, you don't have to draw them, just kind of look. It is still half. We're finding this part, that's the other half of it that we're not finding. So when you're thinking about it as a triangle, think, oh yeah, that's the one we divide by 2. Okay? So here we go. Let's look at an easy one first. Let's start with this one. Okay? Now, our formula is, and I'm going to write it, area equals base times height divided by 2. Okay, now think about the other shape, the parallelogram. The base was like a flat, usually bottom side. Okay, this is our base right there. Now, on a parallelogram, the height shot off the base, right? It also a lot of times has the little 90-degree angle. So which one do you think is your height? 28, that's right. That is your height right there, guys. 28 is your height. So, I'm going to write 21 in my formula times 28 for my height and divide by 2. Okay. Using just a cheapy calculator, 21 times 28 is 588. Divided by 2 is 294. Area equals 294. Now think about it. What kind of measurement? Meters. Area is always squared. There you go. So always look back. What were you finding? Oh yeah, this one I was finding area, so I need a little square. Does that help a little bit? Okay, let's do this one. Let's do this. I know it's crookedy, but they can be any way on a piece of paper. Like, personally, I just kind of take my paper and turn it sideways, but that's fine. Okay. Now, we got to find a base and a height, and they gave us 4 different numbers. What do you think the base is? 7.7. What's the height? You got it. So, this is our base. And our height is built off of it right here because of that little right angle. So our height is that 3.2. So, first, you have to write the formula. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Okay, going to write base is 7.7 times the height, 3.2. Divided by 2. Okay. If I use just my little calculator, 7.7 times 3.2, I get 24.64 divided by 2, and area equals 12.32. Take some math, I'm not going to lie. Okay, now look back at your shape. It is all in feet, and area is always squared. Okay? Listen, some of you might want to go get a cheapy calculator tonight. Just a cheapy, a dollar store. Something you grab off, you've already got one probably laying around, I hate to say. Okay, let's do the odd one now. The reason I waited till last, you can probably tell, is because it's a fraction. So, I'm trying to scroll this thing down. Here we go. Okay, luckily on this one, they only gave us 2 numbers anyway. This is supposed to be a little right angle, but for some reason it didn't photocopy that little line. Okay. Now, so we actually, this one's pretty easy because I'm assuming you see that's the base. and the height is 4, okay? Listen, to get points on this, you have to show your steps. You have to show your work. So, for me to grade something, you would have to write the formula first, okay? Then fill in the formula. You can go across the paper or down. It doesn't really matter. I'm running out of space, so I think I'm going to go across. My base is 9.5. My height is 4. And then I copy the divided by 2. Okay. Now, what is an easy way to think of 9.5? 9 point what? 9.5. I would do that in my calculator, or you can do 9.5. Either way, like, you can do it 2 different ways. Like, if you know a half is like 50 cents, you could do 9.5 times 4, and you get 38. Okay?
I did 4 times 9 ABC 1 ABC 2.
Yes. Okay, so wait a minute. You got 38. If you do it with the fancy calculator and you're doing 9.5 as a fraction, you could do 9 ABC 1 ABC 2 times 4, and you still get 38. Okay? So, the top number is 38. Divided by 2 is 19. Okay? Copy your measurement, which is centimeters on this one, and area is always squared. Okay? Listen, this front page of this worksheet is all notes. I want you to look at it. It's all notes. Like, you go back and look at it. Before you do any parallelograms, you look at it. Before you do any triangles, you look at it. Okay? And then divide by 2 last. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so let's look at the back, because there are an odd one or some odd ones here. Okay? The back is your official homework. But we started out by giving you what I would kind of call the kindergarten version, maybe 4th grade, but about 4th grade version of area, which is where you literally count boxes. Now, we can all get what I call a little drop of a different answer. There's a huge difference between the number 18 and 40. So, like, when we're counting these things, kind of watch how I do it first. I'm counting the whole boxes first. So I do something like this. I usually do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's about a whole 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? That's about 10 right there. Then I start putting my pieces and parts together. So, this one and that one would make about 11. That one and that one would probably make about 12. So if you told me somewhere between 12 or 13, I would take that. But that's a huge difference between that and, like, if you told me 40. Like, 40 doesn't make sense. Does that make sense? Yeah, count. You're counting for these with the boxes. We're literally counting the squares. Count the squares. So let's count this one. Don't say your answer out loud, and then we'll kind of compare. What'd you get?
18.
I'm saying 18, 17, 18, 19 maybe.
Yeah,
I'll take any of those. 17, 18, or 19. I would take any of that. But if you told me 25, that's a little extreme. Does that make sense? Okay. So, and you can write on the little boxes and stuff, whatever you need to do. Okay.
So we just count any part that's shaded in.
Yep, count the shaded in part. Yep, add it up. That one's easy. And you would do the same thing for this triangle. But listen, let's go do one parallelogram real quick, and then let's try to do one triangle before we get out. So here we go. Parallelogram, number 3. Got to know that's a parallelogram. It's got 2 opposite parallel sides. Okay, the formula was area equals base times height. What is my base on this shape? 7. What is my height? 3. Y'all see the height? Okay. 7 times 3? 21. And then I look back up here. It's in feet. And I know it's always squared. Okay. So that's an example of a parallelogram, just like the front of your notes. Now let's do a triangle real quick. I don't know. I'm going to skip down. Yeah, we'll do number 8. Here we go. Looking at this one, number 8. Okay, formula is, area equals base times height, but divided by 2. Okay, what's my base? 12. I would do 12. My height would be 10, which would be 120 over 2, which is 60. And it's what measurement? Millimeters. And it is squared. There's my final answer. Try to circle those final answers, especially if it's as messy as mine. Kind of working around it, but okay. So, you've got everything you need right here. Everything you need. Listen, on these bottom ones, you can do them. Do not come in saying you can't. It is a parallelogram. Oh, they did those backwards. We will talk about 12 and 13 tomorrow. What they've done is, if you can figure them out, go for it. Yes, is that what? Yeah, like, if you look at this one, find the base with the area of 18. Area equals base times height. If the area is 18 and the height is 2, and they want you to find the base. What did we do last week to get rid of a times 2? Divide by 2. What we do to one side, we do to the other. What's 18 divided by 2? 9. So our base is 9 inches. Because I'm looking right there at that 2 inches and 18 inches. So you use the formula, and to me this is kind of like working it backwards. They gave you the area, but you got to finish it out. Same thing they did here. They give you the area, they gave you a base, and on that one they want a height. Okay? Try these. It's not going to hurt anything. Just try them. Okay? Tomorrow we will go over this. If I have any choir kids, I need you to come to my desk and get tomorrow's assignment also, and then you can watch the video tomorrow night that will go over how to do, I think it's area of a trapezoid. Okay? So, meet you at my desk. 1 second.